Hey, what's up, everybody? One coach opinion. And remember, it's my opinion, it's not a fact. So today I'm going to piggyback on, I seen a post by my man. I'm going to let the director get the key grip. I seen a post by my buddy Andrew Council. He put, who is responsible for picking the fighter's opponents? And I don't think that can be answered multiple choice. It all depends on the situation of the fight. So, if a fighter from the jump or whenever decides to acquire a promoter who now has somebody financially backing them, I say the responsibility of picking the fighter's fights will probably be the promoter and the manager, if he has a manager as well. If he doesn't have a manager, it would be probably the promoter and the coach. So if you're a guy that's probably just taking fights, maybe you don't mind being on the B side and you're taking fights and you kind of like just you and your coach, then it's probably just you and your coach. If you have a manager, I guess you hired him to manage you, so he should have a say in who picks your fights. I mean, unless you just hired him or her to get free stuff off of them and they don't really have nothing to say about who you fight. And you know what I'm saying, they're just financially backing you or whatever, they really don't know the sport. But if you pick an experienced manager, I'm sure he's going to have something to say about who you fight. I don't care what the situation you're in, if you have a manager. Unless you have just somebody that's, you're calling a manager and they just like your financial back, like a sponsor. That'd be a difference to me between a manager and a sponsor. Let's see. If you're just, and nowadays some of these promoters, they're signing B-side fighters, guys that can fight, that are sturdy, and they're probably telling them, look, I can get you plenty of opportunities, but in that case, most likely the promoter is totally responsible for who this guy fights. He's usually a B-side opponent, he's sturdy, he signs in, now he's with one promoter, and usually he'll probably fight on that promoter's card, or that promoter might lend him out to another promoter for a certain price, and he'll get a percentage of that, and he'll call them opportunities. I have another opportunity for you. And the guy, you know, he's a fighter, you know, he's just on the B side, and he goes for it. Not goes for it, but he takes advantage of the situation. I mean, he's getting moved. He's getting, I guess, constant money. And I guess he's concerned to somebody. Now, I mean, in any case, I don't think the fighter should be involved in picking who they fight. And I'm going to tell you why. A fighter is designed to be a fighter. Meaning, a fighter should just be worried about who's on the other side of the ring. That's it. If you got a fighter that's kind of telling you, oh, nah, I ain't fighting him. Nah, not him. Let's get somebody else, not him. It's probably not going to go too well. It's probably not going to go too well. Because you might have a fighter be like, just, man, anybody, man, I don't, just pick him. Look, stop coming to me with this stuff. Just pick somebody, man. As long as they my weight, I'm fighting them. And that's what you want a fighter's mentality to be. But that ain't really what you want his level of education in this sport to be. I mean, you want him to consider stuff. It's tricky with a fighter because you want him to have the attitude of a fighter, but you don't want him to be a numbskull neither. You know, you want him to know exactly what's going on, what level we're on, what's going on. But you just want him to say, Joe, coach, it's whatever, man. I study the game. I know the game. It's whatever. So in that situation, you know what I'm saying, I don't think a fighter should be involved. When a fighter gets to the highest level, when fighting at the highest level, they're probably gonna be taking on all comers, and fighters still shouldn't be involved. If you got a good manager, advisor, promoter that's still looking out for you or whatever, or promoting your fights, they'll probably pick the fight. Probably to put some most money in their pockets and your pockets. It doesn't really make sense to stop fighting guys that really aren't going to be financially beneficial to anybody. So everybody's situation could be different. That was the point. Everybody's situation can be different. If you have a manager and a promoter, those will be the guys picking out who you fight. They'll come to the trainer and the box. And let me get this. Any good manager should be consulting the trainer, because the trainer knows what's been going on. The manager can say, well, man, how does he do with southpaws? How does he really do with southpaw? Or how blah, 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 blah. And the trainer can say, oh, well, I don't really like this guy. And then the manager will make a decision off the trainer's information. That's how it kind of should work. And that's where the trainer gets involved. But the trainer probably would never really have a say. Really doesn't need his signature. If a fighter has a manager and a fighter has a promoter, you need these signatures for this guy to fight. It's really no instances where a fighter needs a trainer's signature to fight somebody. He really could switch trainers, when he wants to, depending on the business relationship of him and his trainer. So, but it's really kind of, most fighters can fight. They don't need their trainer's signature. But if you have a manager, you will need a manager's signature on your contract, and you will need probably a promoter's signature on your contract if you have a promoter saying that they have cleared the fight. So in most cases, you got a manager-promoter gonna pick your fight. If you don't have a promoter, you just have a manager, most likely the manager and the trainer are gonna get together and pick your fights, and probably try to get you to somebody that can put more money in your pocket. But then when that promoter gets involved, he'll have something to say about it. If you're just out here taking fights and, taking calls, yeah, they call me here, you just got some type of connection with some matchmakers and stuff like that, it'll probably be the trainer and the fighter that's making the matches. And if you just out here wandering and taking fights and meeting up, and that's just what you do, sometimes just the fighter's just gonna they'll get right in touch with some fighters out here managing themselves. So that's the only time I really would agree that a fighter is gonna make the calls on who he fights, because I have seen fighters show up to weigh-ins without coaches. Just like, hey man, would you work my corner and fight? I don't know how many successful fighters I see doing that, but it's been done. So, one coach opinion, that's my opinion on it. I don't think it can be answered but just by picking one. It all depends on your situation that you're in. That's how you figure out who exactly is supposed to pick out the opponents for your fighter, or who picks out the opponents for the fighter. I'm out.